and welcome to the coronavirus lockdown live stream, the show that brings welcome levity to the end of the world, lifting the spirits of many of you currently in self-isolation by infecting as many as possible with comfort and distraction as the apocalypse unfolds. Now, what the hell is my stream looking like today? It seems to me to be a little bit less glitchy. I updated my MacBook software last night, so I'm hoping that that's made at least some difference. I noticed there are 25 of you, delightful people, watching along. Please do let me know if there are any glitchy things happening, and I'll do my very best to fix them. Eric Larson says, Lloyd, what's with the jacket? Summer is supposed to have commenced. It has commenced, as you'll know, because I announced on Twitter that I was putting on my shorts, and I said, Northern Hemisphere, you're welcome. Summer has commenced because I put on my shorts. However, it's just been a little bit chilly the last couple of days. Spring has definitely sprung in this part of Europe, but yeah, I'm just moderating my temperature, my body temp, somewhat. On Twitch, Beetroot Soup says, hey Lloyd, hey all from London, UK. Alex Mull says, howdy folks. Matthew Tino says, I was just browsing JW Survey when Facebook notified me you guys were on. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah, I can definitely see Jehovah's hand in matters there. So what we usually do, I do actually have a new guest waiting in the green room. But how I traditionally commence these lockdown live streams is to do a spot of reading, just to warm things up a little bit as the green room gently fills. We've been reading from Take Back Your Life by Janja Lalich and Madeline Tobias, which has advice for people who are in the process of leaving a cult, specifically in the chapter of that title. And I'm just going to quickly find where I'm up to in terms of, where did I leave off yesterday? I think I was talking about healthcare. And I was commenting that, unfortunately, that particular section didn't mention anything about blood transfusions, but never mind. It's still very good advice. Page 94, loss of outside support. We're talking here about difficulties during... Sorry, we're talking about what happens during cult involvement and various vulnerability factors that can vary the length of one's involvement in, or the depth of one's involvement in the cult. The presence of family and friends and the amount of support available certainly affects a former member's ability to integrate or reintegrate into mainstream society. Many cults discourage members from continuing pre-cult relationships. Some forbid contact with some or all family members or friends. Other cults encourage their members to maintain good relationships with family, yet they keep them so busy that meaningful contact with anyone outside the group becomes virtually impossible. And some cults promote good family relations in the hope that members will receive money, substantial gifts, or inheritances from their families. Skewed or non-existent contact with family and former friends tends to increase isolation and susceptibility to the closed worldview of the cult. Re-establishment of those contacts will help offset the loss and loneliness former members quite naturally feel upon leaving such an intense environment. For those who grew up in but decided to leave a cult, few or no outside family or friends may exist at first. This is one of the many special challenges facing this particular population of former cult members. After cult involvement, various factors can hasten post-cult healing and lessen difficulties and many are related to the psychoeducational process. Often, former members spend years in relative isolation, not talking about or dealing with their cult experiences. Shame and silence may intensify the harm done by the group and may forestall or even prevent healing. Understanding the dynamics of cult conversion and commitment is an essential part of healing and making a solid transition to an integrated post-cult life. The following courses of action may help. Engage in a professionally led exit counseling session. Educate yourself about cults and cult dynamics, inner workings, the systems of influence and control, etc. Go to a rehabilitation facility, specifically one that specializes in post-cult recovery issues. Involve family members and old and new friends, if that feels comfortable to you, in reviewing and evaluating your cult experience. See a psychotherapist or other type of counselor, such as a pastoral counselor, preferably someone who is familiar with or is willing to educate herself about cults and common post-cult problems and challenges. Attend a support group for former cult members. Calling for a public health response to the cult phenomenon in our society, psychiatrist Louis J. West aptly writes, existing data now suffice to convince any reasonable person that the claims of harm done by cults are bona fide. There are a good many people already dead or dying, ill or malfunctioning, crippled or developing improperly as a result of their involvement in cults. They are exploited, they are used and misused. Their health suffers. They are made to commit improprieties ranging from lying, heavenly deception, we could say theocratic warfare, to murder. Their lives are being gobbled up by days, months, and years. New heading, leaving the cult. The way in which someone leaves a cult may also affect his or her healing process. The common ways to leave a cult are to walk away, walkaways, be thrown out, castaways, to lose the leader through death, disappearance, abnegation, or overthrow, or find that the group has collapsed, or to be cancelled out. Each type of exit can create specific reactions and after effects. Walkaways. The majority of cult members walk away on their own. One survey of more than 500 former members revealed that 75% left their groups without any kind of intervention. Another survey of 308 former members indicated that 60% left on their own without formal outside assistance. Oftentimes, walkaways cannot pinpoint what made them leave. They simply could not tolerate being in the group or relationship any longer. Initially, most walkaways have little or no idea about what they have been involved in. The nature of the psychological influence, manipulation, or abuse that may have taken place is usually not apparent to people who are still influenced by the justifications and rationalizations of the cult thinking and worldview. Some people leave the group or relationship knowing only instinctively that for their emotional or physical survival, they had to get out. The decision to walk away is never easy and often is physically difficult to carry out. An ex-member of a so-called Messiah group that combined Bible study and interpretation with real estate and construction businesses described the process of deciding to leave. It is as if there is a shelf where all of your doubts and misgivings are placed while you are in the group. Over months or years, you observe so many things that may conflict with your original beliefs and values, or you see things done by the group or leader that are just not right. Because of the indoctrination and not being allowed to ask questions, you just put it on the shelf. Eventually, the shelf gets heavier and heavier, and finally just breaks and you're ready to leave. Poor brackets connected to the wall, I would blame on that problem. Some people manage to escape from their group only with great difficulty, occasionally in danger. Another former member described her departure from a large mass transformational group. I saw several members of my family only once during my 20-year involvement. When I finally left the group, I was estranged from most of my relatives, all of whom lived several thousand miles away on another continent. They might as well have been on another planet. Alone, penniless, and unfamiliar with the society I had been living in, but not a part of for almost 2 decades, I felt like a stranger both to my country and myself. Walking away is regarded by some as the most difficult thing they ever did. It means not only facing the unknown, but also facing the possibility that your leader was a fraud and that you wasted precious time. It can also mean facing the fear and confusion that maybe you are wrong to leave. So I have been reading from the chapter, chapter 6 of Take Back Your Life, which has the title Leaving a Cult. Obviously, I realize that not everyone watching the coronavirus lockdown live stream will have been in that situation, but given the nature of my work and the John Cedars channel where these live streams end up, I'm assuming that this is material that will be beneficial to many who are watching. Let me bring in my green room and welcome Naomi Mora, who joins for the first lockdown live stream, and Sasha.
Hello.
Hello.
Excited to be.
It's lovely to have you, Naomi. You have been recommended by a mutual friend, Sherry.
Yeah.
I understand you are an ex-Jehovah's Witness, so it would be lovely to hear more about your story.
Yeah, sure. I'm from Sydney as well as Cherry and Sasha. And, I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness. Both my parents are Lebanese. They'd been converted in Lebanon, so they came over to Sydney and brought up their family here as Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm the youngest of 4, and both my elder brothers have left or had left before me, which is very helpful. Oh my God, Sasha, I'm so distracted by your toilet paper right now. I don't even know what to say.
I'm sorry. I won't interrupt you.
Exciting. I'm
I'll
excited.
tell you about it after.
All right. Okay. So
Isn't
anyway,
it strange that we live in a world where toilet paper excites people? I mean, who expected this for 2020?
I was going to say it's. Can we swear on this? Can I say? Yeah, I can.
Cool. It's not the BBC.
I don't want to hear one swear word out of your bloody mouth.
It just means we'll have to unbox extra things and show more kittens later on to make it more advertiser friendly. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, even that's worthy of a good joke, but I'm going to let it go.
Okay.
the kittens thing. But all right. And then what happened was I was a very good Jehovah's Witness. So I did all the pioneering and went to pioneer school and got to a point where I just realized, what had happened is my whole life I'd been attracted to women and I didn't know what that was. And actually I thought I was trans. That's what I thought I was, because I thought that would explain why I was attracted to women. There was no other explanation. And I just got very down about it. I'd sort of accepted it earlier. I accepted it before I started pioneering, actually. And I thought, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be one of these, which there are many in the Jehovah's Witness faith, like spinsters, the old spinsters that you kind of get that have just lived together. And I thought, well, maybe that'll be fine for me. And so I went sort of down that path pretty hard. And I realized, I was really, really unhappy. I got pretty depressed. I didn't really want to keep going. And so I'd sent an email to my brother who both my brothers just moved to London, actually. So I sent an email to one of them and said, like, this is how I've been feeling. I think I might be transsexual, and I can't go on, and this isn't going to work for me. And ultimately, he just convinced me to get on a flight, and I flew over to London, and he took me to my first gay bar, and I guess that was the real clincher for me, knowing that I couldn't be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, but it didn't do anything to unpick my brain. I just thought, well, I'll just die at Armageddon. At least I'll die at Armageddon. Why end my life now? I'll just make it to Armageddon.
You still bought into the doctrines and the teachings that were ingrained within you over all those years.
Yeah, and so it took a lot longer actually to make the mental shift and to realize they were wrong, and that I wasn't going to have that at all. So it was a lifestyle decision that made the change, but ultimately it became theocratic after, when you sort of understand a little bit more. So since then I've obviously, I don't want to sound like I've been slutting it around London and Sydney, but I've been living in London and Sydney. I'm totally, it was about 20 years ago that all happened. And lately I've been getting into comedy. So I'd been in comedy for a little while, but I got into stand-up for the last maybe 18 months or 2 years. And I decided to go into stand-up with a Bible on stage. So I was running a comedy night that was on Sunday nights, and every Sunday I would do a Bible story together, and we would unpick some of the sort of glorious things that are in there, but with a sort of comedic edge, so as to what I felt was sort of bring down the holiness of it a little bit and make it sound ridiculous. So
I love the fact that you were using the Bible in a stand-up routine. That's perfect, isn't it?
Which is how I met Sherry and Sasha.
Yeah, we were privileged to go along to a fantastic evening that Naomi did, and it was the Sydney Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And it was a packed room. And honestly, the way that Naomi presented things was just amazing. I have to say, the night we were there, probably half the room were ex-witnesses.
It was a very weird night. I'm not going to lie. A room full of ex-witnesses laugh at really inappropriate points in the material. So everyone who's not a Jehovah's Witness finds it shocking or upsetting. And all these ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are just laughing at my sorrow.
I can imagine.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
I can imagine everyone who's not being a witness are like, I am in a room full of sickos who find this stuff funny,
Yeah.
Good grief.
It was a beautifully constructed routine that you did. Honestly, it flowed. It was your own story interspersed with ripping the bag out of things that need to be shown up. And honestly, just did a wonderful job. It was really great to be there.
Oh, thank you.
How have you been going with that?
Can I just be clear? There's nothing in it for you right now.
Now you tell me. Yeah, it was all right. No, it was a really good night. And you've been doing more routines as well since? Have you had other gigs?
A little bit. But I've just started I've just started something online, because obviously it's not a great time to be in live comedy. So I've just started this thing called Bible Agony Aunt, but I've just literally done a call out where people can submit modern day problems, and I come up with a biblical solution to them. So that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Well, the problem
My child
that you
is very
had,
rebellious. How do you suggest biblically we handle it?
Oh,
that sort of thing.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Exactly.
well, that would be death, wouldn't it? And also the problem that you explained earlier, Naomi, that of being attracted to the same sex is also death, isn't it? According to
death. I mean,
pretty much death.
What I do is pretty much every episode is death. That's God's solution. Destruction.
Wow.
So
but he's loving.
Even the first one that I'm working on ends in death. I hadn't thought about it. That's great. I'm gonna.
Gosh. Well, welcome to the live stream. It's lovely to have your comedy added to what we're trying to do here, which is to brighten people's day. Allow me to, speaking of brightening people's day, allow me to add Arthur, who is
hello everyone,
sailing on the crest of a wave of adulation following his success in the sing-along in the last episode.
I don't know how you're going to top that one from the last episode, my friend, because that was fantastic.
Yeah, I will have to come up with. Hi, Naomi. Nice to meet you.
Hiya.
Yeah, I will have to pray and meditate and rely on Jehovah's Spirit to bring me more inspiration.
Unfortunately, we've lost Arthur's audio there, just as
Funny
he
how
was
that happens.
launching into the most triggering part of whatever it was he was saying. But yeah, we do. I can only imagine, Arthur, that you had. Oh, he's not been able. Usually, he's able to unmute himself, and he hasn't this time. Bless him. But
He's
Arthur,
back.
just how much underwear was sent to you following your success in the last sing-along? I'm just interested to know.
All the reactions were public on YouTube and on Facebook.
Public underwear.
No underwear.
People were taking photographs of their underwear and posting it on Twitter.
It wasn't anything about underwear. Sorry.
It wasn't underwear related at all. You're telling me?
No.
Okay, that's disappointing. Maybe that's something you should aim for, because if even a 10 out of 10 doesn't get you underwear, maybe we need to take it to a 15 out of 10 or something like that. You know.
Well, can I just speak about the elephant in the room over my shoulder here? I just want to stress I'm not a hoarder of toilet rolls, but I had the most amazing experience today. Oh, that sounds witness triggering, doesn't it? I had a wonderful experience today. Driving along, there was a truck unloading a pallet of toilet rolls at a little store. So I popped in just to buy a pack because, the world's in meltdown and nobody's got toilet rolls. And he says, it literally off the back of a truck, we're only selling these in packs of 64 rolls. So you either buy 64 rolls or none at all. So I bought 64 rolls and went around the neighborhood sharing them with our neighbors. And oh, goodness, I can't believe that toilet rolls can become such a commodity of goodwill amongst neighborhood. But it's been crazy.
Just genuine question, Sasha. Were you that desperate for toilet paper that was, or is your community that desperate for toilet paper?
Yeah, there hasn't been any in the stores here. Very, very rare do you find any in the stores here.
Have you figured out what rate you're going through it yet?
A lot less than we all used to.
I guess the rate depends on the ply, doesn't it? I mean, if you're dealing with one ply, you're surely going to need more. But mind you, I don't know, 3-ply. I guess 3-ply means that you can recycle a bit more effectively, can't you, with 3-ply?
Well, I know that one of our neighbours was saying she's told her kids that they have to literally tear off, I think it's 3 lots of double squares, and that's it. So she's rationed her children on how much they're allowed to use. Modern world problems.
Arthur, are you on 1-ply, 2-ply, or 3-ply in Romania?
I don't understand exactly the 1-ply, 2-ply, 3-ply thing.
Okay, so your toilet paper. This is important.
How many layers of?
How many layers of it? Yeah.
I guess 2-ply.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So a little bit of economy going on there.
Yeah.
4-ply behind me here.
4-ply. Good grief. Pushing the boat out.
3.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, come on. Let's be realistic.
Sorry.
4-ply is just like ridiculous. So
what's the point? Yeah.
But
Naomi, did you know you were joining this?
Many are 1-ply.
Many in Romania are 1-ply.
Yeah.
Poor things.
Many public toilets here are 1-ply, and it's a good reminder of just how much it takes to get the balance right.
Indeed. I can't believe that our lockdown live streams have descended into this, but it is nevertheless a question on many people's lips, I'm sure, or not their lips, other parts other parts of their anatomy.
Sometimes their lips. I'm just saying, it's be representing it sometimes.
Yeah. May need to.
But very altruistic of you, Sasha, to distribute your 3-ply in the neighborhood. What was the reaction?
They were really surprised and appreciative. So then there was a trade going. One lady had managed to buy a whole box of laundry detergent. So she said, well, I'll swap you one of these for a pack.
Oh.
It was very sweet. And again, this highlights that humanity and community will get together and help one another, even if it's in little silly ways like this. People are actually in this situation together and want to help one another.
You know how you
Sorry.
Sorry, go on, Naomi.
I was just going to say, how did it feel knocking on people's doors and offering toilet paper instead?
I'd like to spread the good news of 3Pi and how it will help you live in a better world, free of the debris of...
You know how you frequently get these stories in the literature of so-and-so was praying for answers from the Bible, and then lo and behold, there was a knock at the door the same day or the same week, or sometimes a few weeks later.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone who you called on, Sasha, had been in dire need of some TP and had gone to those lengths where they're now telling their friends, I prayed for some toilet paper, and little did I know there was some bloke distributing it. You know, apologies for massacring the Australian accent.
That was pretty good. So basically, you're saying I acted as an agent of the Most High and helped to spread paper around.
Yeah,
or the most low.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
you weren't filling their spiritual need, but it was nevertheless a need.
Yeah, I was filling the new system. Yeah, talking about the new system of things. No,
yeah, that works.
Sorry.
I'm not sure how much longer we can stretch this story, but
let's not.
I'm open to idea. So let's see here. I'm just. Oh right. So Heather Adams says, "Watchtower in Focus yesterday was your best yet." Thank you so much, Heather. Yeah, we had a lot of material to work with. We've kind of been holding back on the coronavirus story until we've had as much information as possible, so we were able to go through it all as like a timeline, and it was nice to have Stephen Hassan's views on the way the organization has been responding to the pandemic. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Joelle says, hi guys, got my wine. I think Joelle is in Australia, isn't she?
Great to have you along again.
Because wine would be a bit too early for wine in my part of the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mind you, routines are all out of whack. People can do what they want.
Indeed.
And Lloyd, what's better with wine than something lyrical, something emotional, something coming from way down under? Yeah, mate.
Arthur, are you pitching to commence Sing Along with Arthur early?
No.
Is that how confident you are now?
He's trying to throw me under the bus.
Oh, he's trying to get the Sasha's Poetry Corner up and running.
Of course.
Maybe I should punish him. Maybe I should punish him by instead making him do Sing Along with Arthur.
Oh, I like that.
I think I will.
But I'm not ready for this yet.
Well, you should have thought about that, Arthur, before you tried throwing Sasha under the bus.
Well, to be honest, guys, I haven't prepared a song for today.
Well, that's a shame, because you're just going to have to sing a cappella without any music.
No, I won't sing a cappella because...
Sing Along with Arthur.
Yeah, it's Sing Along with Arthur. And let's...
give the fans what they want.
Of course.
Come on, Arthur.
So let's see whether any one of you has some special requests today.
Okay.
Let's do something.
Do we have any requests from the audience as to what Arthur should sing?
That's a great idea. Let's throw it out there to everybody. We'll stall for time while we get some ideas through.
Although, Arthur, quite frankly, after your storming success in the last episode, I would have expected a bit more preparation.
Frankly. It was Monday, and
Highway to Hell, AA Drill.
Ooh.
Joel Brown, Losing My Religion.
Oh.
Gene says Surreal in It, but I'm not sure that that's actually a song. KTM 19. I'd like to hear a bit of Meatloaf. Bat Out of Hell.
I don't know Battles of Hell, unfortunately.
End of the World as We Know It. I once got into copyright
That's a
difficulties
good
for
one.
playing just a few seconds of that, but presumably Arthur's style would be difficult for YouTube's algorithms to identify. So what do you reckon? You've had a few suggestions already. I Believe I Can Fly, Bob Jamin suggests. Matthew
I love
Tino,
that
Girls
avatar.
Just Want to Have Fun.
No, not no. That's a song I would recommend for Naomi.
Oh, why?
Now, see, now he's trying to make Naomi
trying
throw
to
Naomi
stall.
under the bus. Gary Walters, Chasing Cars. Deborah Green, From a Distance by Bette Midler. You've had plenty
You've
of
had a
suggestions there, Arthur. Come on.
Okay, let's see what.
I think people really appreciated your change of lyrics in our last live stream too. That was absolutely brilliant.
Just in case you're really struggling, Adriel suggests The Wheels on the Bus. I think that's a bit too much of a cop-out, personally.
Okay, so let's do this one. Do a screen share.
Okay, don't forget to tick that box.
Take the box.
Uh-oh, there's a gleeful look on
Oh,
your
good
face.
grief. This is ambitious.
Do we have audio?
We do have audio, yes.
Yep.
This is bold.
Living easy. No. Oh shit. Oh, please. Sorry. No, it's sorry.
I did say that was ambitious. I didn't think
We're
you
nothing
would.
but professionals.
I didn't think you would jettison from it that quickly.
No, the
Literally
problem
just a
is
few
my
syllables in, you're like, I am out of here.
It's like a bad
living easy, loving free. Please take it on a one-way ride. Asking nothing, leave me be. Taking everything in my stride. Don't need reason, don't need rhyme. Ain't nothing I would rather do. Going down Jehovah's time. My brothers are gonna be there too. I'm on a highway to hell. I'm on a highway to hell. Highway to hell. I'm on a highway to hell. No stop sign, speed limit. Nobody's gonna slow me down. Like a wheel, gonna spin it. Nothing gonna mess me around. Hey Jehovah, paid my dues. Playing in the Patterson band. Hey organization, look at me. I'm on my way to the promised land. I'm on a highway to hell. 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 Don't stop me from preaching the good news of the kingdom. Undoubtedly, yeah. Rock it.
Air guitar, Arthur. You need to play the air guitar at this point. Yep. Impressive. Well, that was delightful. Thank you so much for serenading us with.
It's still going.
I'm on a highway to hell. I'm on a highway to hell.
Yeah, he doesn't know that I've taken it off the screen yet.
Sing it, guys! All the brothers and sisters in the congregation. Let's hear it.
He's still on the highway. He's on the highway.
I like how focused he is.
Take the next exit.
He's very much.
down.
He's very in the zone, isn't he?
Really?
He's very much.
All the way.
And he didn't want a cappella, but
He really.
Witnesses one thing, it's concentration and
oh yeah, he's got guitar
I'm on
face going on.
and I'm on there.
When he watches
I'm on
this
the
back.
highway to hell.
oh, it's brilliant.
That vibrato. Oh,
Very nice, Arthur. Very nice.
Thank you.
we're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Randy
Arthur.
suggests more cowbell. Rianne says this is so bloody brilliant.
Unfortunately, for the past week and a half or so, my throat can't go high because I feel it. I know something.
You don't have to talk yourself down, Arthur. You don't have to talk yourself down. I was wondering whether you'd be able to top yourself after I Will Survive, but you've exceeded all expectations. This is beyond anything I could have expected in terms of entertainment. So, Joelle Brown says, "See what you created, Lloyd." I'm proud, Joelle, of what I've created. Quite frankly, I feel as though I have rendered a service to the internet.
The incubator of ideas, we're calling this lockdown live stream, and out comes a prodigy like Arthur.
We do have a question from Jean.
Is he in his dressing gown?
I was thinking that.
No, I'm in my bathrobe because I was literally taking a bath while the live stream started.
So you've literally just stepped out of the bath and you're on the coronavirus lock. Do you realise, Arthur?
That's dedication.
You know, let's just get real for a moment here. Do you realise that there will be thousands of people watching this on YouTube and you're in your bathrobe?
Yes, of course.
You don't have any reservations about that whatsoever?
Absolutely none whatsoever.
Well, that's why we have you on the coronavirus lockdown live stream.
At least the bathrobe's on. I mean,
yes.
We didn't switch to our camera.
Because this program is still rated PG.
Okay, fair enough. Eric Larson says, once you're on the highway, it's hard to get off. Arthur definitely wasn't getting off that highway when we expected him to. He continued.
It's also inertia. It's also inertia because that's physics. That's Newtonian mechanics and special relativity.
Sherry D'Souza says, request for next live stream, Knock on Wood by Amy Stewart.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
No. That's a nice reference to,
Yeah, my mind went somewhere then.
Yes.
Rianne says, you just can't stop. Deborah,
you can't stifle talent, Rianne.
says, I'm watching from work and my co-workers are looking at me weird. I'm in my corner just laughing by myself.
Rocking back
Fantastic.
and forth. Yeah.
Look, mission accomplished. You know, that's what the lockdown live stream's for, is to make people laugh. So, you know, even though you're at work, good, quite frankly.
Yes, some distraction, levity, and parody is all that it takes to make us feel more at ease.
Question from Andrew McMillan for you, Arthur.
Arthur, you will have to have your own show. Well, I won't steal the opportunity from Lloyd to host his own shows on his own channel.
I am happy to continue exploiting your talent ruthlessly, Arthur, but at some point you will need to think about spreading your wings and flying. I don't want to hold you back.
Be free. Explore that talent.
Don't be too free because you're in your bathrobe. Let's just make that clear. I don't want you to feel too free.
That's another reason Knock on Wood was not a good song for today. So.
That's right.
Rianne says, request, don't stand so close to me. We did actually float doing this for the very first one, but then we realized that the lyrics are very Me Too. When you actually hasn't aged well, that particular song. So yes, I think that what we need now is a reset. We need to do what Arthur was suggesting initially, and we need to introduce a little bit of sophistication and culture to today's lockdown live stream, for which we
Naomi's
will.
going to give us a stand-up routine instead. No,
So cultural. That is just so.
And let's not forget, culture starts with the word cult.
Thank you for that, Arthur. Thanks for that one-liner. And now we go to Sasha's Poetry Corner.
okay. This gets a little dark, so stay with us. Stay with me.
Well, at least we have toilet paper in the background for levity.
That's true. That's true. This came to me while driving around today for work. We're living at a time where witnesses are jeering, a time when world events cause them much cheering. Their palpable eagerness to see the demise of entire systems and people, yet they openly reprise the words of their leaders who gleefully say, "This is the last of the final last days." The doctrines they preach, as clearly evident, speak of divine retribution, genocide, heaven sent. Now, some may feel sadness as they see humans crying, yet their doctrines proclaim a much greater day of dying. The biblical lens they try and peer through is one that promotes the death of me and you. Yet rather than us being consumed and bitter, let's work together to make our lives fitter and know that this period, it too will end. So being better, not bitter, is our motto, dear friends.
Oh, worked in the better, not bitter there seamlessly.
Yeah,
I'm interested to get Naomi's reaction.
I love that. I like that it's dark, but it ends light, which is,
Thank you.
It's
It's
not
like
how
new light.
the day, did it?
It's like the reverse of toilet paper, which starts light and ends.
Oh,
Anyway.
beautiful. That's called callback in comedy. And
That's so poetic. So that's scato-lyricism from Lloyd's heart is absolutely beautiful. It makes even the shittest of shit look bright and brown.
You had to go there. You had to go there, didn't you?
Yes, I had to.
So
Hey, Lloyd,
Rianne,
I've got one for you. Sorry, keep going.
Rianne says, "Give us some spiritual food." Hopefully, Rianne's request has been fulfilled.
Some new light.
Yeah, go on, Sasha.
While we're still in this, we're still in our poetry segment for the day. I have to share one that was sent through to me by one of our dear friends and listeners.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I can mention his name, but he knows who he is, and thank you very much. I'm just not sure what his standing is, so whether he would want that out. It's a limerick, so it's just for you, Lloyd. There was an apostate named Lloyd, whose live streams were never much cloyed. With his finger on mute, you had best be astute, because you don't want to get Lloyd annoyed.
Excellent. Excellent. I like the fact that my muting powers have been referred to there with such clever wordplay. So I like that.
Thank you, Michael, for that. Yeah, that's brilliant.
I very much approve of that limerick. So let's see here. Katie 1989 on Twitch feels that you have given a display of true genius, Sasha.
Well, we don't know who she's talking about.
About Sasha.
This was in your part of the comments, I'm afraid.
Okay.
I'm trying
we
to
do
find...
try and entertain.
Rianne says it was so beautiful. Rianne says, "Lloyd, you're gross."
Now you know what we've got to work with, Rianne. Oh God.
I'm afraid toilet humor has always been my forte. Alicia says, "Loved it, Sasha."
Thanks, Alicia.
So yeah, it's gone down well.
Yeah, toilet humor is wiping our hearts.
There's nothing quite like toilet humor that goes down well. Is that?
It's all coming out now.
I'm feeling flushed all of a sudden. Very flushed.
So another comment here about Watch Tone Focus. Thank you for today's Watch Tone Focus, Lloyd. Loving having all of you in my life in these last days. Thank you, Melanie. Yeah, again, it's just a case of, it would be tempting to just kind of do the minimum at a time like this in a lockdown situation and maybe just do jobs around the house or spend time with family. But I figure I've got a studio in my basement. I may as well put out as much video content as I can. And the Watch Tower in Focus was very enjoyable to put together because we had such a great panel to steer us through the discussion. So that was good.
Yeah. And it's a good point that you make too, Lloyd, that people, we have two ways of reacting to this. We can either just become very reclusive, and that's okay if people have to react that way. But this also has been an amazing time of actually creating unity amongst people around the world. It's probably one of the best demonstrations of how people are pitching in together to try and support one another in little ways, and all different communities are doing that. They're all going out of their way to try and check in via electronic means on one another. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a good opportunity just to provide that brightness in everybody's day.
That's true. And like the quality of humor that's coming out at the moment, I don't know about you, but like if you're in any of those sort of Facebook groups or, I don't think people in general have been funnier sort of going through this these hardships. So, yeah, I mean, there are always pros and cons. I mean, Donald Trump is hilarious at the moment, for example. Oh, really brought out his
yesterday. Humor. Yeah. His press conference yesterday was just off the charts.
You couldn't write that if that was a skit, and you were going to write a president having a meltdown in a crisis. You just couldn't have even come up with that. It was just incredible.
I haven't seen the whole thing, but what I did see seemed to be him going full Palpatine and like, I have unlimited power.
Yes. And literally, when questioned by a reporter, and it wasn't an antagonistic question, he just lost his shit. He was an embarrassment. And I'm sorry if there's people watching who might be Republicans.
Oh, there will be.
I'm sorry.
We will be upsetting Trump supporters at this precise moment.
Look,
I'm
sorry, but he's carrying on like a petulant child who's hell-bent on getting his own narcissistic way. Sorry, I'm just putting it out there. He could present Pence presented information, but did so in an attempted dignified manner, and that's how a leader should lead. And I'm not, saying that Pence necessarily had the right message either way, but the way it was presented, we're living in a world that should be so much better than carrying on like a petulant child throwing a temper tantrum.
Indeed. Anyway, steering the conversation away from politics seamlessly and without any awkwardness at all. That we have this comment from Victoria Roberts. After Watch Tower in Focus yesterday, I was wondering if you guys think any of the governing body and or helpers will start to fade as they are already worried about the... So you're talking about governing body members fading as they are already worried about the rank and file. Like, that's a tricky one. I guess I think that the governing body will be worried about rank and file fading at this time, and certainly, using this opportunity for introspection and taking a step back from their beliefs. But as for the governing body members themselves, I have no reason to believe that any of them are. I think that once you get high up enough in the organization, the power becomes almost addictive, and you just want more of it at all costs. I don't know what the rest of the panel thinks.
Well, I think that it's not just about the power itself. It's about the spirit of Jehovah, who is actually making us more stronger in faith. And it doesn't let...
Your thoughts, Sasha and Naomi?
Well, sorry, I'm still recovering from Arthur's shutdown.
He knows that he just does it knowing that I'm going to mute him. Don't worry about it.
It's the abundance of accents on this that I just wasn't expecting. I love it. Yeah, I don't know. I think if you were the governing body and you were absolutely benefiting from everything that was happening, I would imagine it is hard to lose, to fade. But that's been done before, I suppose. I suppose that's possible. But I have every finger crossed that, I mean, which you wouldn't do normally, I suppose, but I do now. I have everything crossed that people gradually get some time away from the group and have some. What's the opposite of herd immunity, but for religion? That's kind of what I think is happening. That some isolation presents as a bit of healing for some people, and then maybe they think about other things other than just their, the same old
inoculation.
Yeah.
That they would hopefully become inoculated to the control of the constant propaganda being injected into them. That, you know, it might provide an opportunity for them to just see the world outside of that witness bubble. And I think Sherry made the point in the last live stream that, you know, researchers and psychologists, specialists know that if you do something for 30 days, it becomes part of a routine in your life that's very hard to break. Well, if we can break, not we, but if they break their so-called spiritual routine for 30 days or so, it might provide them with the opportunity to form a new routine that replaces it and makes them see that they don't have to be in that constant attachment to the JW propaganda.
Yeah.
Joel Brown says, great question, Victoria. Diana Moreno says, the governing body has too much to lose to leave. Here's a question stroke comment on Twitch from KTM1989. My mum has been trying to get me back to the meetings. What advice do we have, folks?
I think the pressure's on now, isn't it? I think for some of those Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm certainly vibing my mum doing something similar. And this is after years of not even bothering. And I think it's their effort to sort of a last chance quickly grab you on board when they think the ship is going down. But I mean that's hard, and it sort of brings up old feelings, doesn't it? If it's been a while.
So many witnesses profit of the vulnerability of inactive ones and people who partially started fading and try to lure them back. Yeah. Because of the pandemic and all this fear mongering by the organization.
Yeah, exactly.
It all comes down to exactly that. Like you said, Arthur, it's the old religious religions are built on fog, fear, obligation, and guilt. And if they can use those to try and manipulate people, and let's be honest, they're doing it with a genuine motive. I'm sure Katie's mum genuinely does think that it's the best thing for her. But does she allow Katie the dignity to make that decision for herself, or is there an attempt to use fear, obligation, and guilt to motivate a course of action? And all we say to people, because we know there's a lot receiving messages like this, use it as an opportunity just to draw appropriate boundaries in a polite way with them. Thank them for the kindness of their gesture, but you don't have to give a justification or an accounting for what you choose to do. You know, we're not children, and we can say thank you to them for their invitation, but I trust you will respect appropriate boundaries. Thanks, Mum. I appreciate you inviting me. I trust you'll respect appropriate boundaries and politely draw a line in the sand. And that's my thoughts.
Yeah. On the issue. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, Sasha, you know what I did? I did what you did. I went round and dropped off some toilet paper, and she was so happy about that we didn't have to speak any further. So I think it's a good tip.
Indeed.
Well done. Showing
kindness can't fail you, I guess. On the question of whether the governing body can fade, Eric Larson says Tony Morris fades in and out of consciousness every evening. Not just every evening, I have to say. I believe that's any time of the day he's given to doing that.
And also about Tony Morris, about the rank and file of fading away. Rank and file fading. It doesn't bother me. It gets worse, people.
You know, I know I know we wanted to draw a bit of a line in the sand with political things, but the more time I hear Trump have a meltdown, the more I see a very strong similarity to the way Tony Morris carries on. The control and
similarities
the
there. Yeah.
Mm.
Andrew
no wonder No wonder Stephen Hassan wrote the book, The Cult of Trump.
Yes.
Andrew McMillan says, I've managed to catch this live for the first time, and this is brilliant and made my morning, especially in these days. Delighted that we've uplifted you. We've done our job, at least in your case, Andrew. So that's lovely.
And nice avatar too, with credit to the NHS. That's again, as we always say.
I've noticed a lot of people doing that on Facebook, and I think it's really nice, really touching that there's that kind of show of solidarity.
Absolutely.
Rianne says, I think some helpers would love to fade out. It's getting too embarrassing. Yeah, that's a bit different, I guess, because they are, you could say to an extent, attaching themselves to something where they have no control over it. So, you know, especially when it comes to like legal liability and the potential of going to jail, you know, if society finally catches up with what's going on with child abuse, you know, do you really want to, you know, to stick around if you do happen to wake up? So it's not inconceivable to me that we would at some point have a governing body helper do a Ray Franz. But I think that Ray Franz was kind of one in a gazillion, in terms of the ability of an actual governing body member to walk away. So Demi Ryan says, my brother is so happy with the organization setting up online meetings. So I said to him, see, the world isn't all that bad, is it, after all? Technology. That is an irony, isn't it, folks? How, you know, they love to point to anything almost as evidence of Jehovah's hand. And in this case, it's modern technology that's come to their rescue.
Yeah, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, they were saying that technology belongs to the devil. Please stay alert on the internet. Be wary of the dangers. It's peril prone. Everything is evil. Stick to the faithful slave. And now the faithful slave uses
Zoom,
the internet, and Zoom and Skype and.
And you think about we've all spoken about this before, all of the technology has been designed by selfless people who have studied extensively at university or in the healthcare field. Those saving their lives went to university, studied to become doctors, specialists, or in the IT field, all to their betterment, all of which would be condemned. So technically they get to benefit by the goodwill and the skills of people in Satan's world. They don't contribute to it.
Sasha, Greg is offering a poem for you to read, I think.
Okay, I can't get the timing right. All right, here we go. Here's a ditty. Couldn't possibly call it a poem. All right, here we go. Here down under, Corona made us wonder. We thought it was a beer, but a Corona that makes us fear. At least we are at home. The J-Dubs just moan. We can't visit their homes. Thank goodness we will mostly survive and J-Dubs can go back to their hives. So we, the free, can carry on with our beautiful lives. That was good, Greg. I'm sorry I got the timing thing all messed up. But nice words, nice sentiment.
Thank you for that. Lots of effort has gone into that poem. We appreciate it. So yeah, Braun Flylin on Twitch says, you are so right. I'm expanding outside more and more. Yeah, I guess it's a case of, we talked about it, or I read about it rather in this, about how, you know, the social side of things is one of the biggest challenges when you are getting out of an organization. And I just hope that, I think we expressed this in Watchtower in Focus, that this is going to be an opportunity for witnesses to see, number one, the goodness in humanity in general, but two, just have a little bit of breathing space where they can maybe connect with people in their community, see goodness around them, and just take a moment to reevaluate their beliefs.
I think they really feel that they've got the well, I don't know what that expression is, like they own being good to your neighbor and being kind and being selfless. And I think they really think this is something that they only hold, even though theirs is far more conditional than the rest of the world's. But it's nice for them to see that other people can do it too. And you don't have to lose all that when you leave. You can still have all that and live quite a decent life.
Indeed. Alex Small says the internet is still helping kill them. They just weren't built, I don't think, for the 21st century. They were built for a completely different era when it was possible to basically print their own truth and no one question it. So they're really struggling in the information age. Vanessa Kudner says, I left 20 years ago and I remember all the talk about the evil internet. Crazy to me how they use it now. So much has changed in 20 years. Tell me about it, Vanessa.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I mean, when the governing body started to be on screen, I thought, oh, that whole novelty, not the novelty, but the mystery of it's gone. They're just so much better off never, ever having seen them when I was in it. I didn't know who they were. I only saw a rough little photo. It was so much more mystery and,
reverence almost.
Yes,
like
exactly.
more of a reverence because we didn't see them. Yeah.
Yes, like don't say anything, like shush.
Yeah, the organization has changed so much in the past decade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely unrecognizable from the way they used to be 20, 30 years ago.
Agreed.
Well, if you watch my first ever JW Broadcasting rebuttal, it's basically me rubbing my hands at the prospect of people seeing more of the governing body, because up to that point, the John Cedars channel was pretty much mostly about playing recordings of governing body members speaking, and I ended up taking off those videos because Watchtower was on my ass at the time over copyright. But up to that point, a lot of my videos were just, here's a recording of Tony Morris saying something stupid, or here's a recording of David Splain or whatever. And I was trying desperately in my own way to show witnesses, look, this is what your leaders are like. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we'll do that for you, Lloyd. We're going to show people ourselves in full HD how crazy we are. And I was like, fantastic. This is literally, this is like the Wizard of Oz throwing the curtain back and saying, here I am, and here are all the knobs and levers that I'm pulling,
Their own hubris and conceit.
Yeah,
the channel now.
The Getting to Know series was absolutely awesome at that time.
Indeed.
And it was really food at the proper time.
What were you saying, Naomi?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that the new apostate channel can be jw.org, given that
Absolutely.
there's material. So
Yeah, absolutely. Alicia has a suggestion for you, maybe tomorrow or in coming days, Arthur.
This is a late suggestion, Arthur. How about the song Goes Wild Thing? You make my heart sing.
Yes.
I noticed you gave a little jiggle as you said that, as you were reciting those lyrics, Arthur. Did that excite you slightly, that song?
Yeah, it's a great song, I know.
Alex Small says, anyone that takes their love hostage just demonstrates that the ransom is not worth paying. Yeah, lots of conditional love inside the organization. Jean says, those helpers that endure will be standing in line for one of the top seats. That's a tricky one. We were talking about that in a recent video about how it would be lovely if we knew which helpers are
anointed,
consider themselves anointed, because they are the ones who are candidates to join the governing body. You can't join the governing body if you're not anointed, and it would be interesting to know the degrees to which various individuals are eyeing a position on the governing body.
And when they suddenly wake up and feel anointed when there's a position available.
Yeah, indeed.
But it's obviously there is a procedure in the governing body that they have to have professed their anointedness for some time before being invited to join the ranks of the top leadership,
Thanks, Tony Morris.
I'm so happy you managed to get through that whole thing without being muted. I'm just
No, I wanted people to hear that. It's entertaining. But no, in all seriousness, we talked about this on my video it was the Who's Who 2020 with
Part 1.
blue envelope and Jay, and we were talking about how it seems to me that you're more likely to be appointed to the governing body if you're bland. I mean, if you look at the last two appointments, Mark Sanderson and Ken Cook, they're both fairly underwhelming in there when it comes to charisma and when it comes to presence. They just basically trot out what you would expect. Everything's very bland, everything's very predictable. And if you are like a narcissistic governing body member, why do you want to feel threatened? Why do you want to invite someone onto the body who's going to steal the limelight from you? And that's why I can't help but wonder whether the more charismatic helpers like David Schaefer, like to some extent Mark Neumayer, even if they were anointed, and we don't know whether they are or not, I sense that they would be held back because the governing body would perceive them to be too much of a threat. So that's just my own theory.
Or Ken Flodine.
Ken Flodine is so lacking in charisma, but he's a funny one because he seems to genuinely rate himself as a teacher, but then he comes up with those ridiculous visual things where he's throwing bread in a bin or he's breaking a glass on the floor.
Grieving the Holy Spirit.
I see him being a Tony Morris rival. If they were on the body together, they would butt heads, because I think he's got that same arrogance and power hungriness that Tony seems to display. As is evidenced by just how much he relished destroying that glass or throwing that bread in the bin in that illustration.
Well, based on because we had the footage recently of a teaching committee meeting, which I found fascinating, and you see Stephen Lett at the top of the table, and to the left of Stephen Lett, you've got Tony Morris and Mark Neumayer. I don't know whether they always sit in the same chairs. I can't believe. I would imagine that they would, this is my chair sort of thing. And almost directly opposite from Tony Morris, you've got Ken Flodine. And it's almost as though Ken Flodine is watching Tony Morris and almost idolizing him as this is who I want to be,
When will they have a diversity hire? I mean, we've got a bunch of old white dudes on the governing body and one token. When will we have somebody from the Asian field or no, because there's no, they don't want any sensibility being brought into the governing body, so there's no chance of there being a woman. But yeah, when will they get understand that this is supposedly a worldwide organization and they should be taking on those from diverse fields?
Well, big corporates are no different. So I suppose when everybody else changes, I guess. I don't know.
Alicia Giordano says there's a prank call video, Lloyd. Would love to see it. What's the title of the video so I can look for it? I did a prank call on Tony Morris a few years back where I found his number, or someone passed me a copy of the Bethel directory. This was when they were still in Brooklyn, and I found Tony Morris's number and called it and managed to get through to him. So there is that video. It's kind of like an Easter egg lurking there on the John Cedars channel if you go far enough back. So yeah. So Vanessa Kudner says, my dad is still into, and the mental health issues he and the organization gave me make me want to drink wine too. Yeah.
That's normal. It's all right. It's part of it.
Indeed. So I'm going to have to pull this lockdown live stream to an early close because I've got a busy morning ahead of me. But I want to thank my panel, particularly. It's been a breath of fresh air, Naomi, having you on the lockdown live stream. And I'm anxious to hear more of your story at some point. So would you be interested in coming on future shows?
Yeah, definitely up for it. The sun's gone down here, so sorry, I feel like I'm now in a bunker for real. But
sure,
it's been great. Thank you for having me.
It's been lovely, and thanks to the rest of the panel. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you all. And for everyone out there, take care of yourselves. You're not in this alone. We are all in this together, and we got you. We'll be here for the serious and the frivolity.
Yeah,
Just a
we're
reminder-
united in worship.
We are. And just a reminder that if you want to leave a voicemail, the address is speakpipe.com/Cedars. Alternatively, if you want to send in a video message with an unlisted YouTube video link, here is the email address to use. But you can catch us on facebook.com/Lloyd Evans Cedars or twitch.tv Lloyd Evans on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. But it's been an absolute pleasure doing the show, and we hope we have provided some distraction and frivolity. Please stay inside, stay safe, and stay positive, and we will see you in the next show. Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.